Okay, lesson 37. We're dealing with the contents of lesson 40 because it's too important to do that at the very last class and not have an opportunity to repeat the exercise that you're going to learn. The exercise is called Sambhavi Mudra. And this, of course, requires that we first explain what mudra means. All the mudras, except Sambhavi Mudra, are described in chapter 3. That indicates that Sambhavi Mudra, or mudra in general, is more advanced than pranayama, because pranayama is described in chapter 2. Asana is described in chapter 1. So there is progress, there is progression. It becomes more and more advanced, more and more powerful. Now when you talk about mudra, when you ask people what does mudra mean, most people will say finger movements. Anybody knows mudra? So, yeah, there are many, but there are not many people who understand the real meaning of mudra. It's an energy control exercise and more powerful than pranayama. So the question is, how are finger movements powerful? How are they more powerful than pranayama and asana? But how are they powerful in any way, finger movements? Can you give me the answer to that question? Nobody knows. Why did people make finger movements? You have to look at the time when this was invented. There was at a time when people did not have education. They were illiterate. They couldn't read and write. Almost everybody. People communicated in a very different way than we modern people do. For us, we don't even realize, but everything is written. We absorb all our information through text. Ancient people were not able to read text. They communicated with symbols. And they also learned things through symbols. And they memorized things through symbols. You know ninja, the Japanese warriors? They have their own secret finger movements. They're secret. So they have their finger movements and they hide them. But what are they doing really? The finger movement itself is not important. It has no other function than being a reminder. So for a ninja, each finger movement represents a value. The value of courage, the value of righteousness, the value of honesty, purity, the value of protecting the people or the king, the emperor. So the finger movements of the ninjas are similar to those of the yogis. They represent a certain value. So a finger movement without the value, which is a feeling that you need to deeply feel inside yourself, a finger movement without a value has no value at all, has no strength or power at all. One of the famous, let me explain how this works. One of the very famous mudras that most people recognize is this one. Right? What does this mean? Nobody knows. But many people have seen, you go to a Buddhist shop and there are statues, little statues with this mudra. It's everywhere. Or illustrations on a painting or, oh, what does this mean? What is important is that you know what it means. One hand in front of your heart means that you make a vow. You make a vow. Then you connect the big finger, the biggest finger on your hand, with the index finger. I vow. What do I vow here? The biggest finger, have you read? Have you read the text? No, it's okay. I don't expect you to read it. You don't have to. But if you have read it, you notice that I mention what the fingers represent. And the thumb, the biggest finger on your hand, the biggest limb, as we call it, represents solidity. Solidity means control. What does the index finger represent? Yes, ego. Can you put the dots together? I vow to control ego. So sitting like this with your hands like this is not going to make you control ego. What does help control ego is that you contemplate what ego means and how ego influences your life. And how ego always causes the misery that you experience in your life, and that it is therefore important that you learn to control it. If you just sit like this, your ego is not going to be controlled. All you end up with is a cramp in your hands and your fingers. Sambhavi Mudra is the same. They say if you do Sambhavi Mudra 1 hour per day, you will be enlightened. So that's a big promise. Enlightenment is one of the big goals in all philosophies and spiritual practices and religions. Now, how does it work? You put your thumbs on your ears. You put your index fingers on your eyes. You put your middle fingers on your nose, the ring fingers on your upper lip, and the pinkies on the lower lip. Wait a minute. This is only symbolism. Sitting like this is never going to bring you enlightenment. If you push hard on your eyeballs, maybe you see some stars, but it's never going to bring you enlightenment. Remember how I introduced mudra. It's a way for illiterate people, uneducated people, to remember something. It's not about the fingers but the thumb is control. The ears are what? Throat chakra. Hearing. Control. Solidity. I'm mixing them a little bit up because with Sambhavi Mudra you start at Muladhara chakra. I'm mixing them up a little bit because we start with the thumbs on your ears. Remember that the chakras are related to one of your senses. Hearing. But that is the throat chakra. Solidity. The index fingers, you put them on your eyes. When people talk about themselves, what do? They point their finger at their chest. I am this and I am that. So that represents ego. Ego is the characteristic of Manipura chakra. and the eyes are connected, the sense connected with Manipura chakra. So there is no coincidence there. There is a logic that most people don't know, because they don't know the anatomy, the subtle anatomy of yoga. They have heard about chakras, but they don't know that the chakras have a real function and that they are connected with one of the senses. So when people do Sambhavi Mudra like this, they don't know what they're doing. But Sambhavi Mudra is a very powerful Kundalini exercise. Not if you do it with your fingers, but if you do it the way that we learned today. The middle fingers. Here. Yeah, what does that represent? When do people do this? It's a universal gesture, right? And you put it on your nose. Pride, Muladhara chakra. Smell, pride. That feeling that you have when you can feel that? It's a universal gesture. So there's no coincidence. Then the ring fingers you put on the upper part of your lip, the upper lip, which according to the philosophy behind this, the upper lip is the most sensitive tissue on your body, which I don't agree with, but anyway. So it represents feeling or touch, which is the heart chakra. And then the pinkies, the little fingers, represent artistic tendency, the water element, or Svadhisthana chakra. So let's put them in the right order, and then it will start becoming clear. Because to make this exercise only powerful if you do it systematically, from the bottom up. Enlightenment, spiritual development, everything that we try to achieve in yoga is based on energy rising up. And you started purifying your body physically with asana, strengthening your body, and with the strengthening of the body, increasing your energy. Because without that, spirituality or energy in the crown chakra is not possible. Healthy mind in a healthy body. Once you have laid the foundation with that, you start with pranayama to increase the energy levels and also increase energy rising up to the crown chakra. Once you have done that, you add a more powerful tool, and that is mudra, specifically Sambhavi Mudra. Now you are going to very specifically and in a very targeted way force energy to rise up. And that only works if you really feel it. It's not a thought, it's not a finger movement, you have to feel it. What? You can stimulate the chakras with a sentiment. Muladhara chakra at the bottom. Which finger was it? Which finger was it? The middle finger. Pride. The sentiment, the feeling of pride. Svadhisthana. The water center is the pinky, which represent artistic tendency. Let me use another word for that, artistry. Then we have Manipura. That was ego. Again, the fingers are not important. The meaning behind it is important. Ego. This one is the easiest. Ego is the easiest. Because most energy is in Manipura chakra also. Then we have Anahata. The heart chakra. The ring finger. Right? Loyalty, faithfulness. The ring finger. We will come back to that. Loyalty. And then we have Vishuddhi. The thumb. Solidity or control. We live in a strange world. From when you are born as a child, you are being taught that thought is the most important. Feeling is not important. Your parents, teachers will tell you to control your feelings. Don't get emotional and etc. Don't follow your heart. That's foolish. But feeling involves huge amounts of energy. That is why joy is a very powerful tool in your spiritual development. Thinking is not powerful at all. That doesn't mean that it's not important. Thinking helps you to understand things. If you can combine thinking and feeling, you become a totally different human being. Why am I telling you this? You're doing something here that many people think is childish or foolish. Because you are using sentiment. But these sentiments, because it involves large amounts of energy, it really works. As a thought, it doesn't really work. It's not very effective at all. So what you need to do here is not think about it, but try to feel it. So you have to try to imagine a situation where you experience something like this. Muladhara is stimulated with pride. Everybody has something to be proud of. A graduation from something that you pursued that was really difficult. Winning some kind of competition. Or any kind of achievement that you had in your life. Something that you pursued, something that you did a lot of effort for, something that maybe sometimes you lost hope. You struggled, but then you succeed. You feel pride. So the way to do this is not to think of pride or the concept of pride, but try to really feel it. And for me, what works best is to use something from memory, something that makes me feel a sense of pride. And everybody has something they can use for that. So it is good to be modest. You understand? It's good to be modest, not to be arrogant. But for the purpose of doing this, you have to stop being modest for a moment. You have to really feel it. You have to really immerse yourself in that feeling of pride. Pride can lead to arrogance, so you have to be careful with that, but it's a very powerful tool. That is the first one, Muladhara chakra. Pride, sense of pride. Svadhisthana chakra is the pinkies. The fingers are not important, but it's artistic tendency, artistry, sense of beauty. You know, every country that develops and becomes wealthy, one of the things that they all do is they start subsidizing art. They spend large amounts of public money, tax money, on art. They build museums, galleries, and people can visit those places at a very low price or even for free. I'm not talking about private galleries, they're very expensive, but by the government. Why do they do that? Because a sense of beauty, when people can go to places where they can see and experience beautiful things, it stimulates Svadhisthana chakra, and it leads to people becoming more civilized, more cultured. They become more human. So, since ancient times, governments know this. But when a government is at war, when they are poor, they can't afford it, but as soon as countries become wealthy, stable and wealthy, they start investing in art. Korea also started subsidizing artists. They do that in Europe already for many decades. But there are people who have no job, who are just in their atelier all day, they drink a lot of alcohol, they wake up at 12 o'clock, they create art, and they're being paid by the government. Because art cultures people. The way that I present it sounds a little bit cynical, but those people have an important function. So, sense of beauty. You know, in the Netherlands, I'm from the Netherlands, and often when Korean people hear that I'm from the Netherlands, the first thing they say, tulips. It's the country of flowers. It's true. In the Netherlands, if you go to a shopping mall, there's one butcher shop, there's one bakery, there's one supermarket, there's one shop where you can buy household items like Daiso, where you can buy clothes, but there are 3 or 4 flower stalls or shops. And many people, not everybody, but many people, when shopping, they pass by the flower shop and they buy a bunch of flowers. And when unpacking the shoppings, they put the flowers in a vase and it's somewhere in the living room. Why? Sense of beauty. And we use it as a tool. When we have a conflict, you want to go talk with the people to solve the conflict, right? When you're fighting with a friend or a neighbor, or something went wrong by accident and you want to apologize, you don't go there with empty hands. You pass by the flower stall and you buy a bunch of flowers, you keep them behind your back, you ring the bell, and when they see your face, their face becomes dark because you have a conflict with them. So they're angry at you. Then you say, ta-da! And you say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry what happened. I really didn't mean it. Can I please come in and can we talk about it? And the flowers has just made them soft. The beauty of the flowers had made them soft. And they open the door and they say, I will make you a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Let's talk about it. Problem solved. Sense of beauty is very powerful. That is why rich people who can afford it, they buy expensive pieces of art. And they don't put 5 pieces of art on one wall. No, just one. Just one. Because that is where the beauty lies. If you put 5, it just becomes distracting and disturbing. Just one nice little piece of art. Pick something that works for you. For me, I am from the Netherlands after all. I always use the dahlia. The dahlia is a flower. There are 2 different kinds of dahlias, but I'm talking about the one that has a big bulb. Not a bulb, but the big flower head. And It's a little bit like a lotus flower. It has many petals. You have different colors. But I like especially the wine red dahlia. I had them on my balcony. And I could just look at them when watering them in the summer. I could just look at them and really lose myself in the beauty of that flower. The shape, all these petals, but also the velvety texture, the very soft and beautiful, and the shades of color. Why do you think these colors are wine red? It's the color that I use to stimulate Sambhavi Mudra. In the life of a yogi, nothing is without purpose or reason. There is never something without consciously choosing. I chose this color very deliberately because it's the color that I use to instill a sense of beauty. That's when people say you are an eccentric. But you're eccentric because you do everything very consciously and deliberately. That is part of being more sensitive and conscious. Naturally, you become eccentric. Everybody. Ego, I already said, very easy. But wait, to conclude this, for me, the flower works. You have to find something for yourself that gives you that sense of beauty. It can be looking at a child. You can feel a sense of beauty looking at a child, as an innocent child playing, having fun. It can be your partner, if you really think your partner is really a beautiful person. But usually it's an object, something, a flower or art or something personal. So everybody individually should find something that works for you. So then we have ego for Manipura chakra. Ego is very easy to stimulate. Anybody teaching children here? Or do you have children? Nobody.
I have nieces and nephews.
Huh?
I have nieces and nephews.
Yeah. So children can be all over the place. There's so much energy, and sometimes they're naughty, and that's not always a good thing. So if you talk to them and you say, hey, you cannot do that, or you're doing something naughty, it goes this ear in and comes out that ear. They don't listen. They just continue. They're all over the place. Now, what do you do if you need their attention? You loudly call out their name. The moment you loudly call out their name, they're like, did you call me? You immediately have their attention. What happens? Manipura chakra, their ego is stimulated. Just try to imagine you're walking in the street from the subway to the yoga studio. Suddenly you hear somebody shouting your name. Hey, Soyoung! Soyoung! Hey! Soyoung becomes straight and, hey, who's calling me? Ego. So when I do Sambhavi Mudra, I just imagine walking in the street, somebody opening the window, saying, hey, run! It works immediately. It sounds foolish, but it's very powerful. Ego is the easiest, and you can even feel the energy when you do that. The others, you may have doubt whether there is any energy. That also, you shouldn't really be too focused on that, because it's a distraction. You have to have faith that it's actually working what you do. But ego, Manipura chakra, easy to feel. Anahata chakra, the heart chakra. I don't know if you noticed, but the heart chakra, the loyalty, faithfulness, and the ring finger. We have a ritual without knowing why we do it. When we get married. When we get married, we put a ring made of precious metal Not steel, not aluminium, precious metal. So either gold or, what's the other one called? The white gold. And if you can afford it, even with a diamond, a precious stone in it. Then where do you put that? Not on your index finger, not on your middle finger. You put it on your ring finger. Why? Allegedly connected with the heart, and it stimulates sattva. So it instills loyalty in a person. It's symbolical. Yes? 네?
원장님 안 계세요?
예, 안 계세요.
반품 신청하셨었는데?
예?
반품 신청하시는 거 아는데?
반품? 밖에는 없어요? 왼쪽?
찾으신 거 같아요.
있어요. So you don't put it on your right. You don't put it on your right ring finger. You put it on your left ring finger. When you get a heart attack also, it hurts in your left arm, not in your right arm. When you have heart trouble, you feel it in your left arm. So apparently there is a connection. Then why gold or platinum and not wood or steel? That is because precious metal is precious for a reason. Precious metal has a sattvic element. That is why ancient people considered those metals precious. And that's why they're expensive. But it's because they are sattvic, while steel, aluminium is not sattvic at all. But gold, platinum, sattvic. And precious stones too. That is why people have jade in their house, or crystals, or if you can afford it, you have diamonds. Because they are sattvic in nature. Of course, it's very subtle, and most people don't feel anything. But on a subtle level, it causes sattva. So, on this finger, left hand, loyalty to what? That is very individual also. When I'm working on this concept, I invoke loyalty to the path that I have chosen in life, following my heart. From the moment that I started following my heart, I started feeling myself. I started on the path that brought me to Korea. There was a long path with all kinds of events that led me here because I started following my heart. And it wasn't easy because it's the right road on the when you have to choose left or right. It's the road full of obstacles and challenges. But it's a wonderful road. It has given me so much. It has taught me so much. It has given me purpose in life. It has brought me so much wisdom and insight and fulfillment also. So for me, that works. Loyalty to the choices that I made in life that have brought me where I am today. But you can use loyalty to a person, but when you do that, you have to be careful that there is no conflict with that person. If when you get married, you pledge loyalty to your partner, but there are almost always conflicts in relationships. But if you are the lucky person who has an ideal relationship, you can indeed use your partner But if you use a person, the most likely person that works in this case might be your mom. Even though with your mom there can be conflicts, but your mom gave birth to you, sacrificed everything for you, to raise you. And that might not be perfect, but every mom sacrifices for their child to grow up, to be born and to grow up. And when you contemplate that, you cannot but feel admiration and loyalty, even if not everything has always been perfect. But so again, it's an individual thing. You have to choose something that works for you. Anything that works, you use that for Anahata chakra. The last one is the throat chakra, Svadhisthana, Vishuddhi chakra. The thumbs, the biggest limbs on your hand, as it is called, the biggest fingers on the hand, representing solidity, control, controlling ego, solidity. We have gone through these 4 concepts. The 5th one is solidity. Here means confidence. Being, in spite of the challenges, in spite of the mistakes that we make, not giving up. Being confident about yourself and the choices that you make in life. Being confident about the path that you have chosen in life, in spite of what other people told you. Maybe other people told you, you're crazy. Why don't you just get a normal job? Why don't you just live a normal life? Why don't you just get married and have children and buy a house and etc. Solidity is something that you feel in your heart. As a yogi, you make choices in your life. Often people do not agree with that, but you feel that is really what you want to do. And along the way, there are failures. You make mistakes. And sometimes you even doubt yourself. When you're in misery, sometimes you're in misery and you think everything is falling apart and you're losing everything that you worked for, that you fought for. Sometimes you can be really desperate. But you close your eyes, you meditate, you calm down, you connect with your heart, and you know that it is right. You know that your choices were right. That is solidity. That kind of confidence that other people can't understand. Solidity. Solidity in your choices. Solidity in your being. That's Sambhavi Mudra. You can see how it works. You bring energy, Shakti, from the bottom up. And you do it in a very systematic way. Very directed. By touching each of the chakras with a sentiment, that the sentiment leads to a whirl of energy, rajas. And rajas expands and rises up. That is the Kundalini effect. It expands and it rises up. Tamas is the opposite. Tamas contracts and it descends, it goes down. Rajas, the whirl of energy, is expansion. That is the excitement that you feel in your belly. Is energy expanding, and energy that expands automatically rises up. That is Raja Yoga or Rajas Yoga. Kundalini. Questions? We have a pranayama. I suggest that we first do asana, then I will explain the pranayama. Then it goes from today, the meditation goes like this. You start with the pranayama, then you do Sambhavi Mudra, which will take you approximately 10 minutes. And then you finish the remaining time concentrating on nada. If it is correct, you will notice, because all that energy is now up after Sambhavi Mudra, that your meditation will improve considerably. Because all your energy is now here. So nada will become very clear, very present as a result. Questions? No, the best approach is to just try it out. And the first time can be a little bit chaotic because there are so many steps to take. Not only that, you have to find your way. You have to find which sentiment, which concept works for each of the chakras. But once you have determined that, it becomes intuitive and it goes smooth, and that's when it becomes really powerful. That's why I thought also it was important to pull it back to lesson 37 instead of doing it at the very last class, so that you can repeat a couple of times. All right, let's have a short break.